Did you ever have something that happened and the other person or the toxic person in the relationship completely confused you and made you think that it didn't even happen? And not even the fact that they made you think it didn't even happen, but they seemed to believe that that thing never even happened at all. I'm not just talking about gaslighting, because we've talked about that before, but I want to talk specifically in the aspect of rewriting and how narcissists a lot of times rewrite history, and do they actually believe it? If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. We do it on all the different platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you can find us at under Raw Motivation. So like, subscribe, rate, review, anything like that to be able to help us as we continue to grow our platform, to be able to help people understand what narcissism actually is, and they can see it demonstrated or talk through with examples to be able to help other people that might not have a clue of what they're actually going through. If you guys want to be able to hear not just my perspective, but be able to get the wife's perspective as well, I'd love to have you join us on our new podcast called Trauma, Drama, and Life, hosted on Apple Podcasts. And you can sit down and hear myself and my wife talk for 15, 20 minutes going through questions that you guys have written in at ben@rawmotivations.com or DM'd on Instagram, and be able to hear some of the stuff that we've gone through, the ups and the downs in our relationship, and also why she decided to stay and to be with a narcissist. So check that out, Trauma, Drama, and Life. Also, wanted to be able to say, if you want to be able to talk with me or be able to work through some of the rewiring, not rewriting, I'll explain that, but the rewiring of your mindset, getting back to the truth of reality, breaking that trauma bond, and going through and being able to set boundaries, would love to interact with you. Would love to talk to you and love to help you through that. So reach out at rawmotivations.com, click on one-on-ones, and we can grab a time. Anyways, jumping in today, wanted to start going through the aspect of narcissists rewrite history. So we all know narcissists lie. I mean, that's kind of like staple, like narcissists lie. Like they go all together, okay? They'll outright lie, just, no, I didn't do that. And then they'll do it more covertly where they'll omit certain things. So we're like, oh yeah, well, I forgot to tell you that. Or I didn't tell you that. Like they'll just leave bits and pieces out of the story to make it sound a certain way. Well, we've talked about aspects, and I have videos of gaslighting, about how narcissists gaslight and convince you of a different reality. But when it comes down to it, a lot of narcissists are the first victim of gaslighting. Now, I don't say victim to make you feel sorry for them. I'm just saying, in order to be able to change a reality, a lot of times the narcissist has to believe it themselves first. And that's when we bring in the aspect of rewriting. You see, the goal of rewriting history is to look into the past, into the history, and to change the past to avoid the feeling of accountability or responsibility. It's the idea of looking at something that's true in the past and change it to false so that it feels better, so that I can sit with that better. So I know, hey, it's okay because I'm a good person. I didn't actually do that. That didn't actually happen, and it discounts it a lot of times. Well, whenever we're talking about rewrite, you notice I use a lot of times in my videos and in coaching, rewire. What's the difference with those? Well, rewrite is the aspect of looking at the past, looking at truth in the past and saying, hey, I don't like that truth because it hurts me, and let me rewrite it. Let me change that truth to be false so that it fits my mask. Rewiring is what we do with survivors of narcissistic abuse, because they look at the past and all they see is a false narrative that they're believing, whether that's been put on them by the narcissist or from their own mind of everything that they've gone through. And they look at that and we have to rewire that false narrative back to truth. So that's the difference between the two, and why I specifically try to use rewrite when we're talking about narcissists doing it, and rewire when we're talking about abuse survivors, to be able to get out and be able to get back to the truth, because that's the only thing that's going to set you free from that toxic narrative that you're believing. Whenever we're talking about narcissists, gaslighting, lying, rewriting, there's also an aspect that comes into it that I want to bring up, just about compartmentalization. That's the idea of boxing things up. Now, sometimes I use the illustration of boxing things up to give to you, to push guilt and blame on you, but other times narcissists box things up just to hide it away, just to imagine that it doesn't exist. It kind of falls in line with some of the rewriting of, like, here's a scenario, I don't like this because I caused this issue, let me box up this memory, this idea, let me tuck it away in the back of my memory, let me put it away, let me delete it so that I don't have to acknowledge that it actually exists and that I actually did something wrong. So a lot of times narcissists will compartmentalize. They'll box things up in order to hide. The other thing I wanted to bring up as we're diving into the aspect of rewriting is the idea too of two realities. A lot of times narcissists will develop and construct two different realities that they're living in. Now, this isn't schizophrenia. They're not changing themselves personality-wise, or they're not changing themselves of like that actual mental shift, but it's more of the idea of I'm in this state, I'm in this reality of, hey, I use it more mainly with like cheating because it's an easy example. Like, hey, I'm in this state and I'm loving and being this person I'm supposed to be. They're not, but I'm being this person that I'm saying I'm supposed to be. I'm faithful to this person. And then I jump over to this reality and I'm like, I'm faithful to this person. And what's happening is they're normally discounting, compartmentalizing, pushing to the side the other reality when they're in the opposite. So when I'm in this relationship, that person doesn't exist. Then I switch over to this relationship, that person doesn't exist. So then I'm not lying, right? I'm telling the truth in this reality. Sometimes there's that much of a kind of like shift and break to try to be able to justify, to gaslight, and to rewrite their own mindset of like, hey, what I'm saying actually is true. So a lot of times it's hard because you're looking at them being like you're lying, but you seem so sure about it. I guess I'll believe that. A lot of times we see that happen. Anyways, rewrite. Okay, so when we're talking about rewriting history, the big aspect of rewriting is to avoid accountability. Let me get away from something that's going to hold me accountable and responsible for my actions. So here's the idea. I know I just did something wrong. I have to avoid it. Well, I'm normally going to avoid it. Blame, shame, like raging, all that kind of stuff. I'm normally going to avoid it that way. But sometimes I have to avoid it by just changing the narrative that I'm believing, rewriting it to be into a false narrative. I hurt this person. I don't want to deal with that pain. So I didn't actually hurt this person. They hurt themselves because X, Y, and Z. That's the idea. Because the idea is I can't be accountable. I'm rewriting to avoid that accountability. I can't be accountable because of guilt and shame. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to experience that. I don't want that to be something that's in my life. So I have to do anything I can to avoid it. And the goal a lot of times with rewriting, with gaslighting, with putting blame is the whole concept of it can't be my fault. Because if it is my fault, then I'm the bad person. And I can't handle that because it doesn't match up with my mask, so I have to be able to avoid it no matter what. When a reality doesn't match up with the mask, with the image that I've created, then I have to rewrite it. I have to change the actual narrative that's going on to provide support to the mask. A lot of times it's automatic. Over a period of time, it becomes a habit. Nope, that didn't happen. This happened. And you start to have narcissists that are able to change and rewrite the past super fast to make people feel and think that it didn't actually exist. They know they do it, and we're going to dive into that next. Okay? So it's the idea, I know I did it, like I know I did that issue. I did something that was wrong. I did something that hurt someone, but I have to change it. My reality gets so close that I'm like, okay, I need to change it, so I didn't do it. Therefore, it establishes that I'm a good person. Okay, so diving in a little bit, narcissists know that they rewrite. However, the more it's practiced, the more it's ingrained, the more it becomes a habit. It just seems automatic. It doesn't even seem like there's a stop or a pause. It just happens. I believe it less. So like I did something wrong, but I'm gonna rewrite it. I know it's wrong because I'm putting a fresh coat of paint over it. But if I do that fresh coat of paint 1,000 times, it didn't really exist, right? And that's the idea that a lot of times is happening with narcissists. They go back and they'll rewrite history to be able to justify what they've done and to be able to not feel bad and see the shame, the guilt, the accountability that comes out of it. And let me ignore it. Let me say it's not even here and move away from it as best as possible. This is why a lot of times it's so convincing when they're looking you in the face and they're lying to you and you're like, that was a lie, but I think because they sounded like it, they just seem so sure of themselves. Well, that's because they've done it 1,000 times. They put in a lot of practice, a lot of reps, and as a result, it makes you feel like you're crazy because you don't know what actually to believe. And you don't know what's real because they've become masters of rewriting history. If that's you and you're watching stuff, you're seeing stuff, and you're like, wait a second, it didn't happen that way. I know this happened this way. I know this wasn't right. All those type of things, I want you to understand you're not crazy. you're not alone, and you're not hopeless. And the biggest thing you can do is reach out for help, because you never know that there might be someone who can see it from a different perspective that can let you know you're right. You're valid, that did happen. They're the ones that are manipulating. They're the ones that are abusing you.
You've been told it's all your fault, and that makes you feel crazy. No one understands you, and that leaves you in a place of being alone. You've tried to break free multiple times, and that leaves you helpless because nothing you've done has actually worked. It hasn't actually got you free or liberated from this toxic relationship. So you feel crazy, alone, and hopeless. Guess what? That's a lie. Because all it is how you've been raised and conditioned inside of this abusive relationship over and over. And as a result, you've sacrificed your growth, you've sacrificed your worth, and you've been trapped inside of a toxic relationship. What if I showed you the path to freedom? A way for you to actually get free mentally and emotionally from the toxicity that's happening right here, right now. You deserve more. You deserve to be able to heal. And I want to help you with that. If I can help you with that, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, schedule a call there, and let's talk.